Good afternoon. It's an honor to be here to give honor to a sister friend. And what do I mean by a sister friend? My mom grew up in Puerto Rico and came to the United States because of the Depression. She was fleeing Puerto Rico, as was my father, a colony of the United States. And during the Depression, they came to El Barrio, where you're sitting now, East Harlem. And in that process, they had to make a life. They spoke Spanish, they didn't speak English. And I marvel at the reality of people who have come speaking other languages from other cultures and have forged home. And in the process of forging home, you find family, you create family. And in that process, my mother and my father taught me that many people will come through your life, but they will just pass through almost like boats. But there are those who become friends. Those other ones are acquaintances, they're not friends. And I have had the good fortune, the honor to have as a friend, Angela Fontanez, who we honor today. And what makes a friend? Right? Because we hear it all the time, oh, she's my friend, he's my friend. A friend is someone that you can depend on. Someone that is there when you cry. Someone is there when you have your children. Someone is there when you have your divorce. Someone is there when you're trying to be seen. And we are the children of the 60s and 70s, right? When Puerto Ricans were basically unseen. Who spoke Spanish and be black and understood yourself to be black in a society that didn't understand people speaking Spanish and being of African descent. And I met this amazing woman as she was also developing as producer and creator, right, in the television field where we were not seen, heard. And how do you address a person of power, right? You insist upon creating space, and that's Angela. Angela has insisted on being seen, insisted on being a creator, a cultural creator, and also assuring that we are seen with respect, dignity, and the value of what we bring to the table. And that process many have done from different cultures, and it has to be honored. And we don't honor it in a moment when culturally racial is the call of the day. So as all before me speaking have said, we have to make ourselves seen, heard, but the action of insisting that we're part of the building of this nation. And we don't build by ourselves, we build in unison, we build in community, we build with friendship. And when you're hurting and not seen, and when you need someone to see you and support you and understand you, right? That builds not only friendship, it builds community, it builds union, because we trust each other. And in that trust, we pass on our knowledge to our children, to their children. So I have had the friendship of Angela as we were both single. We had our children. We are now grandmothers. And we continue to build and pass on. So the honor is mine to introduce Angela Fontanez.
I feel honored to be among you sisters. I gotta say that first of all. I wanna thank the Labor Arts and the Triangle Fire Coalition and the Lemlich family. I wanna thank my husband who got me here from Florida, long, long hours on the road together. Thank you. It dawned on me about 3 days ago, I've been in New York since Mother's Day, day before Mother's Day, that I was born at 115 East 110th Street, not very far from here. Didn't live here long. At 5 years old, we went to Puerto Rico, and when we came back, we came to Brooklyn, and I lived at the base of the Jumbo building, which was then a factory. And the whistle used to wake me up to go to school, the 8 o'clock whistle. A lot of factories down there. Waterfront area, which I didn't know there were some Italians. They had a bakery on the corner. But at 5, a lot of Puerto Ricans were coming to New York. A lot of Puerto Ricans were coming to Brooklyn because a lot of people came and settled where they had family, where they had friends. So I grew up at an early age seeing family, as Marta talks about, and seeing friends, and people sleeping in our sofa, and helping somebody find a job. And, you know, so-and-so might have not, you know, take this plate of food upstairs to the Rodriguez family was common. I grew up just knowing that this is what we do. We help people. We help people that need. Fast forward a little bit, by 1943, there were over 69,000 Puerto Ricans in New York. And they were in my school, but it was a mixed school. There was white, there was black, and there was Latino too. But this was where, unbeknownst at the time, my roots began. Fast forward to 68, there was HEW put out there was formed the Kerner Commission, and their findings led to the fact that there were not, among many things, that there were not enough people of color and women in the film industry. I met a man at a party. I didn't know how to work a stopwatch. I worked in advertising production up until then. But he said, we're looking for somebody. And I thought that it may well be just, I'll have a dinner and then I'll politely tell him I need to leave now because that's as far as we're going to get. But it turned out to be a real job offer. And that's how I began working at WNET Channel 13 at the age of 25, I think, on Black Journal, which was the only black program, national black program in the country. And at the time, what I found out later in doing some research was that I began in an entry-level position, but I eventually became a producer. There was only me in the entire country, a woman of color producing a national show. I couldn't believe it, but I made some calls. At the time, there was no internet, and I found it to be true. My work there, I can talk about the things that I created, but the most important thing that we did was at WNET, we created the Black Journal Film School. Black Journal was the name of the show. And at that show, we trained a lot, at that school, at the show, we trained a lot of people. I began as a student, working during the day and going to school at night and then seeing how to load a 400-foot film magazine, because everything was film at the time. The graduates are now producers, they're directors, they're writers. I spoke to one of them who's very upset that the union is on strike just the other day. In '75, by then I had been producing for a while. I was called by a friend of mine and asked to go on an interview for a show called Vegetable Soup. And it was a children's multicultural program. It was national, excuse me. And I said, what's the position? They said, well, it's a production manager position. And I said, I'm not a production manager, I'm a television producer, I'm a director. He said, Angela, you'll get the chance, God bless him if he's wherever he may be. It's a chance for you to hire people of color nationally. And that's what I did. The first series was $1 million budget, and we did 26 shows. The second one was, I was pregnant with my son, who's now 46. We had reached a $2 million budget. A young white boy, Jeffrey Resnick, was deeply influenced by Vegetable Soup as a little boy, as he told me when he introduced me on the phone. Jeffrey Resnick was deeply impacted by vegetable soup. Today he's in his 40s, and he will present on a panel at the Library of Congress, a free public conference, A Century of Broadcasting Preservation and Renewal, on Thursday, April 27th. He made it his business to get vegetable soup on, it's accessible. If you go online and just Google vegetable soup, you'll be able to get it. I just imagine and wonder how many children's lives we touch, because I know for a fact that in that 4-year period, I hired a lot of individuals and a lot of production companies who are still producing today. In the 80s, it was my last broadcasting job at WNYC TV. And again, WNYC had the first gay program on. It's called Our Gang. Local programming. I did a lot of different programs. A lot of programs to service the community. Job hunting. One of my last shows was New York Hotline, where we would show a film that we did in the community about something that was going on, whether it was about jobs or about racism, whatever the case may be, and then we had a panel in the studio, and then you could call in and talk to the different guests that were in the studio. One of the people that worked, well, I want to talk about two people. One woman was Maria Hinojosa. You may have heard of her. Maria worked at the radio part of WNYC, and I said, I want a person of color to be my host. And we got her. And we had many fights in the beginning because she didn't want to trim her hair because she had very long hair. I said, you have to look newsy. No. Long story short, she's a Pulitzer Prize winner. She has her own production company. She's a national correspondent. And her beginnings were at WNYC because she got the opportunity to get in front of a camera and show what she could do. Rosanna Rosado, you may know, because she worked with Cuomo, and now she's working with your present governor. I can't think of her name right now. Because I don't live here anymore. I live in Ron DeSantis country. Sorry, but it's nice otherwise. Rosanna honored me when she was editor-in-chief at El Diario. And she went on and on when she introduced me about how I taught her to work a room. But so that's kind of nice to have on your resume. I showed Rosanna how to work a room. In the 80s, my last broadcasting job was at WNYC. Also was around the time, well, no, Malta and I started working together like in the, Kizinga is, my son is 46, he was 3. And we started putting our heads together and doing an incredible amount of programs. One of the things that I did that I am so proud of still is an African folktales book, children's book that I wrote for Malta at a time that I can't write Malta. I don't know, I can't write. I used to write 30-second copy, for TV or a voiceover, but he says, Angela, I know you can do it. That book is still being used in schools in New York. When it first came out, I did a humanities curriculum at a school. And I guess that's maybe when I started feeling like I like school, I like teaching. At 53, I went back to school and got my master's and went into teaching. And one of the reasons I went into teaching was that I had done a film on alternative education when I was at WNYC. And I went to this school where they did collaborative education. I didn't know what collaborative education was. I know that what we taught our students when the college, we were housed in Bronx Community College, University Heights High School. When the college wanted to put metal detectors in, we didn't do anything about it. All the teachers are going in each other's rooms because it's like, where are our students? They were in front of the building picketing because they knew that they had rights and they spoke out. And that's how they got into the school. Are you trying to tell me to cut? Okay. I'm almost finished. And I would say that teaching was one of my greatest, what I still call, I want to pick the right word. I don't want to say achievements, but I have about 300 students on Facebook that I'm still in touch with, and they're also teachers. We're trying not to cry at this part, because when I read one particular student talking about how his student went up 3 reading grades, it was like he had won an Oscar. You know, the teacher, my student had won an Oscar. Lastly, I just want to say a few words about my mom, who is my biggest influence. She's 103. She is doing her thing still, but what I learned about being a woman and helping and supporting and never giving up was from her. And so, thank you, Mom. The process of preparing for this award has probably given me the biggest gift I could ever get, in recognizing that I have made a difference. I just was busy doing whatever I did for the last so many years, and I didn't know. But I got nominated about a week after my 80th birthday, and it's the biggest gift that I've gotten so far. Thank you.